happening, everyone? Welcome. This is Tuesday, June 14th, 2022. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup. Good morning, Dennis and Gad and Mark. Gad, are you referring to my inability to properly manage the opening of the show? Good morning, Jenny. And good morning to all the rest of you, whether you're watching live later or listening. Thank you for coming by. Well, this is day 2 of a bird deciding that my window needs the end of his beak starting at like 4:45. Finally, I got out of bed at 5 a.m. because he's relentless. He's still in there. Actually, it's more like click, 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 like right by my head. I'm like, come on, bird, stop it. This is roly-poly little finch-looking thing. I don't know birds very well. And yeah, doesn't appear to be trying to build a nest or anything. I think it just sees a reflection of another bird and wants to peck it in the face. But it's a bird, so it's too dumb to figure out that it's not a bird that it sees. Yeah. Good morning also to Brian. Oh, I thought I saw more people come in. Jenny's listen only again today, getting ready to run out the door for Tandem's 8th grade graduation. I'm sorry, 8th grade recognition ceremony. Congratulations. Good morning, John. Brian says, who is saying hello via a bird of flight? I don't know. There's no, I'll be honest. Like, that was my first reaction yesterday was, what is this bird trying to tell me? It's trying to get me to observe something. No, it's not. It's really not. It either thinks it sees a bird, which is my working theory, or it thinks it's going to peck through the glass and take over my house. Seems a little less likely. Good morning, Kelly. So I want to hear about your day yesterday. Tell me what you did. Drop it in the comments. I'll read some of them. I had a really good day. I had one meeting cancel. Got a bunch of really good work done. In fact, if you've been paying attention to the show for a long time, you know that I struggle on Mondays. Mondays are not my day. But I had a great Monday. I really did. I was on. I took care of a lot of things. Some of it might be that I wasn't heartbroken to get the message that a class I was with. Let me finish yawning. I wasn't heartbroken to get the notice that a class that I was going to be teaching on productivity on Wednesday ended up getting canceled. Hopefully rescheduled for the fall because there weren't enough people signed up, which is a bummer. But at the same time, it's summertime. It's summertime in Vermont, and it's summertime in Vermont kind of post-pandemic. I don't know. Are we post? I think for most of us, we're post. And people want to get out and do stuff, and they don't want to sit in a classroom and listen to me tell them how to arrange their data for maximum efficiency across multiple devices. So that opened up my Wednesday. That was going to be like an all-day thing on Wednesday. And it means I can have a little bit more relaxed time. It's beautiful weather this week. So I got outside at 3:30, built another garden bed, planted some plants, rearranged the front porch plants as I chip away at getting things planted. And something else happened yesterday. The robins on the front porch, they flew away. I didn't get to see it, which would have been amazing, but I peeked my head up and they were all gone. And I took a picture on Sunday night, so I know that it was sometime Monday morning. Well, assuming something didn't get them. It'd be hard for something to get them where they were. Stacy says, went on a quick trip to visit Smashy and deliver one of the origami tree lamps I've made. That's cool. And for those of you who don't know Smashy, Smashy is Lauren. Lauren and Stacy are the breaking team that I feel guilty using the word sponsor because we contribute little, but do what we can. when we can, and they destroy a lot of wood. A lot of wood. If there was going to be a kindling factory, the two of them would be my first two hires. Hey, I need you to break a whole bunch of wood. Great. Brian's suggestion about the bird in the window. Tape a cat picture to the window. I'm a problem solver. I love it. I love it. Today's a recording day. Did you listen to yesterday's recording, David Leith? Today's a recording day. We've got 3 scheduled that may turn into 4. I don't know. Andrew controls these things. But we've got a full day of recording and almost a full day of recording. And I'm looking forward to it. And then after work, I'll probably head over to the range. I got some stuff to do over there. And I'm going to maybe go to the gym. I keep saying I'm going to go to the gym, and then I keep ending up outside in beautiful weather, digging in the dirt, getting my movement that way. And honestly, I'd rather do that. I like going to the gym for the people, but yesterday was just one of those days. It was like low to mid 70s. It was enough of a breeze. There were very few bugs, and the sun was shining. It was incredible. It was just a wonderful, wonderful day. Stacy says, camp is strictly BYOB. Bring your own boards. 1 box of boards is 1 hour of fire. Good morning, Andy. Andy says, great day to ride. Yeah, yesterday would have been a good day to ride. I almost did. It's funny. Andy and I have been talking about going for a motorcycle ride. I rarely ride. I don't ride much until like July. There's just something about June. I'm just always so busy. I'm busy in the garden. I'm busy with travel. I'm away this coming weekend. I was away last weekend. It's just, there's a lot. And I was thinking about taking the motorcycle to Maine this coming weekend. But unless the weather changes, it's going to be rainy. And I'm not doing that. I love to ride. I hate to ride in the rain. Not fun. Why is coffee the best? Yeah, so there's not much to say about today because I'm recording. Just kind of looking around to see if there's anything else. Just slowly rearranging house and outside from winter to summer. And I know some of you who don't live in the area might think, oh, but isn't it summer now? Kind of. It was low to mid 40s overnight. I wouldn't quite call that summer. All right. Frank gave us something to talk about, and there's some good quotes here. So I think we'll have a lot that we can dig into on this. Oh, before we do, so some of you probably saw my Facebook post yesterday, my personal Facebook post about this hypothetical. What if your childhood bully came to you and asked to sit down, have coffee, and apologize? What would you say? And a lot of people took it as a real scenario, and it's not. That this has not happened. I've had 2. I've had 2 of my childhood bullies come to me and say, hey, I'm sorry. And I forgave them both. One of them, I have not, I'm keeping a hard line. Is not permitted in my life. The other one, I don't socialize with this person, but that one, I had a much better understanding of what was going on in that person's life, and it allowed me to have some better empathy. But what I found fascinating was how many people came out of the woodwork. People who never comment on my posts were coming through and chiming in on this. And if you use Facebook, if we're connected at all, or if you're not, feel free to find me. Feel free to friend me if you want. There's some absolutely wonderful commentary in there. It's one of the best question posts that I've put up, probably ever. And I'm quite thankful to read what people are writing. All right. And here we go. On this day in 1775, the U.S. Army was born. And we have 3 quotes about fighting. And I think we can extend much of what's here to martial arts, to combat, to self-defense. Number 1, if a man hasn't discovered something that he will die for, he isn't fit to live. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, I take that to mean living as in fully embracing life, embodying what it means to be alive. If you think about people who have no passions in their life, things that do not matter to them, and there's no judgment about what those things could be. For some people, it's their children. For some people, it's their profession. I've said once or twice publicly that I would absolutely give my life right now to meet whistlekick's goals. This goal of getting everyone to train for 6 months, I believe that would make the world so much better. That if that's what I needed to die for, in a heartbeat, take me now. I think most people do have something that they feel so strongly about. Their convictions are so powerful that they would. And I would encourage you to think about what those things are for you. And if you want to share them, you're welcome to share them, but you don't have to. For most of us, it involves people. At least that's been my observation. It's family. It's certain people in your family. For just about every parent I've ever known, it's their children. You can hear the bird tapping. It's so distracting. I've never intentionally killed a bird. But this one's pushing its luck. I'm not really serious. I don't think I'm serious about that. We'll see if I continue to have my sleep deprived over several weeks. I was about ready to take out the raccoons when they were doing that to me. Anyway. Check back over here to see. Good morning, Mike. All right, moving on. The truth is that you always know the right thing to do. The tough part is doing it. General Norman Schwarzkopf. Schwarzkopf, the only reason I can pronounce that is because that name was rattled off on the news across a several year span. I forget which Iraq thing we're talking about, whether it was Desert Shield or Desert Storm, but I believe he was one of them. He was in command in one of those. But this is something I've said. This is integrity. We know what the right thing to do is given a situation. It is quite rare that trying to determine the right thing to do is difficult. We know what it is, but it's just not always easy. When people bump somebody else's car and they leave a scratch and they drive away without a note, they know they're doing the wrong thing. When someone steals from a store, they know they're doing the wrong thing. They may justify it to themselves so they feel better, but they know in their heart that they're doing the wrong thing. Knowing and acting are dramatically different. One takes infinitely more effort sometimes. Standing up for yourself, standing up for others, that's really tough to do. How many of you, here, I'm genuinely asking this to see if this is a thing. How many of you have at least one scenario in your head where you didn't stand up for yourself? Maybe it was at work, maybe it was family, maybe it was a former friend, maybe it was somebody in a bar, maybe wherever. And you replay that scenario in your mind, and you have come up with so many better ways to handle it than what you actually did. I've got a number of those. Everything from verbal conflict to Here's a great one. I'm going to give you a great one. Okay. So we got to set the scene. I was working at Staples, which means this was 2002, 2001, 2002. Staples was right next to a grocery store. So I rarely brought my lunch because I could just walk next door and get my lunch. It was less that I had to prep in the morning. I had enough time. I could pop over, grab my understanding of health and nutrition was not as good. I was getting like a Hungry Man meal. Hungry Man XL if they were on sale. Man, that stuff was terrible. And I'm checking out, and it's 2002. People did still use cash in 2002. Not everyone, but there was a generational split. And there's a man behind me, and it's tense in the grocery store. You know, it's lunchtime, might have even been a weekend. And there's an older man, probably in his late 60s, behind me. And it's taking a while for the card to process, just abnormally long. And he's getting visibly, I could not so much see, but I could feel him getting upset. I'm like, well, this man's really impatient. And so the transaction completes. I take my food. I'm walking away. I turn to him and I say, sorry. You know, attempting to express some empathy that things did not go at the speed that he wanted to. And his response to me was, I thought young people were getting smarter. And then he mentioned something about cash. And I walked away. Because what was I going to do? Fight an old man? Like, obviously not. Nor am I going to intentionally fight anyone. But that's 20 years ago. 20 years ago, and I still feel that one. I bet many of you have something like that. Stacy says, I've post-gamed some of my responses for years upon years. The 20th anniversary of one that will haunt me forever happens next week. Such mixed emotions with that event and day. Now, the only reason I bring these scenarios up is to prove that for all of us, there is a difference between what we do and what we want to do. Our recognition. I knew I should have stood up for myself. I didn't. I'm much more likely to do so now. There have been scenarios where I just, yeah, okay, well, it's not my fault you didn't plan ahead and leave enough time that you wouldn't be stressed coming to the grocery store. Or you could have chosen a different line. Or do you know how much easier it is for me to manage my finances when I have a credit card statement I can look at? I am smarter, probably infinitely smarter than you, because I'm not creating a confrontation in a grocery store, right? Like, there are some examples that all came off the top of my head. But I think the other half to look at there is adrenaline was involved. How many of us train, we're like, oh yeah, I could totally deploy these techniques in the heat of whatever, and we can't even stand up for ourselves verbally. I think that's a perfect illustration of how numbing adrenaline can be. And the last one here. The true soldier fights not because he hates what is in front of him, but because he loves what is behind him. G.K. Chesterton. I don't know who G.K. Chesterton is, but that resonates. I mean, I guess as much as it can as someone who has not served in a formal capacity. I have served, just not in the military. I've done service. This doesn't apply to me. There, I'll stop. I'll stop making mental gymnastics over the words. We all know what that means. It doesn't apply to me. The true soldier fights not because he hates what is in front of him, but because he loves what is behind him. I think we need to remember this one. I'm afraid there are things coming. And I want us to remember this quote if those things happen. Because if we apply our current dichotomy of everything has to be this or that, red or blue, yes or no, for or against, with no gray area, I think a lot of us are going to feel socially strong-armed into positions that we don't actually want to take. This is your gray area. To say it another way, you can support the soldier without supporting the war. That was something I heard a lot in the early days of our time in Afghanistan. All right. Ooh. Gad says, nowadays I find it better just to ignore those stares or comments. If you react, that can quickly escalate. During the past few years, people's fuses have become a lot shorter. Your reaction might also be well meant, but people don't take it that way. And Stacy's helping me out here. Chesterton is a philosopher known as the Prince of Paradox per Google. Thank you. Prince of Paradox. This is someone that sounds like I should know more about. Kelly says, there can be consequences for standing up for yourself. There was a bully at my previous job and I stood up for myself. Basically ended up losing my job, but was the best thing for me. Sometimes have to think first to make sure you're ready for what happens afterwards. And I was. Yeah. Nobody wants to feel small. And the longer a bully bullies and creates a greater and greater gap in their mind between themselves and you, and then you stand up for yourself, all of a sudden position flips and they can't handle that. And if they have any kind of authority, they are going to exercise it because they don't want to feel small anymore, which is why it's important to not let people put you in that position if you can help it. Something I've been working on. Good things. Good stuff to talk about. Great stuff to think about. I appreciate all of you for chiming in. One of my favorite things about the content that we do at Whistlekick, especially this show, is that it gives me the opportunity to think through things, to talk through things. And I have a sounding board with all of you. And you give me the space, and I trust that you know my intentions are good. So if I stumble over my words, if the coffee hasn't connected yet, and I don't get something quite right, you give me the opportunity to roll back and say it again. Or, once in a great while, somebody will reach out and say, did you mean this? I don't think you meant that. Or you reach out to give me additional context, etc. Because we're all trying to develop. We're all trying to grow as people. So, yeah. Something I'm going to share with you. This is a not quite fully defined idea, but gauging interest because it affects how we would implement this. Short version. Top floor of the warehouse is also an unused training space. It's unused because it's also a warehouse. Andrew and I have done some filming there. I like that we film in here better. But when I think about content, shooting things, I have had to travel to do any kind of school appropriate looking shots. Was talking with Craig yesterday, voiced this idea to him. He loves it. He's in. What I'm tentatively calling, and I don't like using I don't like using style specific terms, but I think on this one I have to. Extreme dojo makeover. Take a weekend and we go from where it is to where we can take it. Whoever can show up and help. That's my thought. That is the full extent of what I know at this point. If that is something that you think you might be willing to chip in on, I don't mean financially, I mean time-wise. Show up for a few hours and, grab a saw, grab a hammer, whatever. Message me, please. Don't drop in the chat here because I won't have any record of it. Message me, email me. Would be great. I think we would film the whole thing and do kind of like a time lapse. And I think that we could implement, if we get enough people, we could implement some creative ideas that might make other people interested in doing some things for themselves. Remember the episode Andrew and I did on designing a training space for your apartment? That one did air, right? I don't remember. We did an episode on it. It would be kind of a visual extension of that episode. So I think that might be kind of fun. And there we go. So that takes us to the end. I want to thank everybody for coming by. Remember, we do this every weekday. Most of you know that. If you're new, you might not know that, but we do this 5 days a week. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. We are almost at 50 followers on Twitch, 44. If you can make a Twitch account and follow me, if you haven't, please, or follow us, Whistlekick. Stacy says, yes, the apartment space episode aired. Great. So we would be implementing a bunch of ideas from that. I'm looking forward to that, to getting this project. It'll happen sometime this summer. What else? If you want to support us, you've got a bunch of things you can do. Don't forget, we've got a Patreon, patreon.com/whistlekick. We've got the code FirstCup15 to save 15% on something at whistlekick.com. And we've got the full family page, whistlekick.com/family. You got to type it in. I updated it yesterday. I hide the things in there, so you gotta look around. And one thing, I asked people a while ago to rate, review, etc. Martial Arts Radio. And yeah, Martial Arts Radio is, of the content that we put out, it is the most important thing. But you can also do the same thing for First Cut. You can listen and then rate on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere. Any of that would be helpful. I don't expect that very many people are going to find First Cup as an entry point to the Whistlekick world, but maybe somebody does. And if you've got questions, comments, feedback, things like that, you can email me, jeremy@whistlekick.com, or you can post over on the Facebook page. I'm going to come up with something today for tomorrow, and maybe we can chat about that. So thank you for being you. Thank you for your support. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.